Hey everyone, Hallie here at High Octane Cards. We're going to be doing a quick video here. When I say quick, it's probably going to be about 8 or 10 minutes long. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of the Daytona 500, maybe some predictions and what to look for tomorrow for the Great American Race. Of course, the first race was in 1959, won by Lee Petty. That race was a photo finish. It took them about 3 days to figure out who won the race, as Johnny Beauchamp and Joe Weatherly crossed the line side by side with Lee. Joe Weatherly was a lap down, and Johnny Beauchamp actually was declared the winner of the race, but photo and video images a few days later determined that Lee Petty was the actual winner. There are 8 former Daytona 500 winners entered in the race. And those are Austin Dillon, Ryan Newman, Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Jamie McMurray, Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Derek Cope. Derek Cope is the oldest driver in the race at 62 years of age. I didn't dive into the research of who the youngest is. I'm sure that that's probably 21, 22-year-old driver. I'm just looking at my starting lineup here. Could be Cole Custer, Kaz Grala, Austin Cindric, Quinn Houff, somebody around in that area. There are only 7 drivers that are active this year that are former past Cup Series champions. Kyle Busch is the only one that has 2 titles. You also have Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, and Martin Truex Jr. Let's go over a little bit of facts about the Daytona 500. The 1980 race won by Buddy Baker was run at an average speed of 177.602. That was the fastest 500 in history. Bill Elliott has the qualifying record in 1987 at 210.364 miles an hour. 1981 was the first race that the Daytona 500 was the first race on the schedule. Prior to 1982, Riverside was, and then different years, different short tracks were, and even for a period of time, the previous calendar year started the new NASCAR year. So if you look back at NASCAR records in the 50s and 60s, let's just say 1953 NASCAR records, the beginning races would have been 1952, maybe in December or even November. I think we mentioned it the other day, in 1968, there were no qualifying races held to determine the starting lineups due to rain. And in 1972, the qualifying races no longer counted as a start, and they didn't have any points until 2017 when they involved the stage points. So the top 10 finisher in each qualifying race would score points just like they would at the end of the stages. A little bit more information about, well, we just mentioned the stages coming in 2017. In 1974, the first 20 laps were not scored due to the energy crisis, so it was only a 450-mile race. Drivers that are first-time winners of the Daytona 500, and when I say first-time winners, their first career NASCAR Cup Series win was in the Daytona 500. So you have Tiny Lund in 63, Mario Andretti in 67, Pete Hamilton in 70, Derek Cope in 1990, Sterling Marlin in 94, Michael Waltrip in 2001, and Trevor Bayne in 2011. So there could be a first-time winner tomorrow. The last 3 fall oval races at Daytona have all had first-time winners. We did mention that the other day. As far as car owners, Petty Enterprises has the most with 9, Hendrick Motorsports at 8, and the Wood Brothers have 5 wins. Of course, the most recent coming with Trevor Bayne in 2011. Chevrolet has 23 wins, Ford has 15, Toyota, the newest manufacturer, only has 3. Let me shuffle through my notes here. This Daytona 500 this year is being run, of course, on Valentine's Day, February 14th. There were 7 previous runnings of the Daytona 500 on February 14th, and I'll tell you when those were and who won those. So in 1960, you had Junior Johnson. 1965, Fred Lorenzen. 1971, Richard Petty. 82 and 88, both were won by Bobby Allison. 1999 was Jeff Gordon, and 2010 was Jamie McMurray. So those are the previous 7 runnings on Valentine's Day. Thought that was just kind of interesting. These are the guys that won the Daytona 500 and the Cup Championship in the same year. Lee Petty in 59. Richard Petty did it 4 times, 64, 71, 74, and 79. In between those years, Cale Yarborough pulled it off in 1977. Jeff Gordon in 1997, of course, Jimmy Johnson in 2006 and 2013. Excuse me. So drivers, we talked about drivers that had their first career wins in the Daytona 500. So far, only 3 drivers has the Daytona 500 been their final career wins. Mario Andretti in '67 and Trevor Bayne in 2011. Those two are so far their only career wins. Of course, Trevor could move back up conceivably into the Cup Series, but highly unlikely. And Bobby Allison in 1988. Of course, Bobby had that horrible crash later that year in Pocono that ended his driving career. Here's some notable drivers. These are the 10 drivers that have the most career wins but never won a Daytona 500. And that would be Kyle Busch, Rusty Wallace, Ned Jarrett, Tony Stewart, Buck Baker, Mark Martin, Bobby Isaac, Brad Keselowski, Carl Edwards, and Rex White. Those drivers have the 10 most career wins without ever having won a Daytona 500. And that's a pretty solid list. I did skip over 2 drivers, Herb Thomas and Tim Flock, but that's because a majority of their careers predated the Daytona International Speedway, so I did not include them in that little stat because I don't believe either one of them either ran a Daytona 500 or a significant amount of Daytona 500s. Not enough that I would consider it to be fair to conclude them in that class of drivers. Just shuffle through a little bit more here on the notes. There have been 12 times that the Daytona 500 has been won with a last lap pass. So when the white flag waves tomorrow, not necessarily whoever's leading is going to be the winner, but only 3 times prior to 1983 was it solved or won with a last lap pass. That would be 69, 76, and 79. Back-to-back, Cale Yarborough won with last lap passes in 83 and 84. And then in the 90s, it was done twice with Derek Cope and Dale Jarrett in 1990 and 1993, respectively. And then 2007, 2008, again, back-to-back years. That seems to be a little trend here. And then 3 years in a row, 16, 17, and 18 had last lap passes at Daytona. Now, 2020 did have a last lap pass, but it actually had 2 because Newman passed Hamlin after the white flag, and then Newman passed him back for the win. Of course, we had that horrible crash last year with Ryan Newman. You've all seen the highlights. Just going over a couple more notes here. Want to make sure that I covered everything that I looked up with you guys. Of course, 4 drivers will not race tomorrow. That's Ty Dillon. He was driving for Gaunt Brothers Racing. Garrett Smithley and Timmy Hill were both driving for Carl Long. And Noah Gregson, who was driving the Beard Motorsports car that Brendan Gaughan has been driving the last several years. And of course, Mark Beard, the owner of that team, recently just passed away. So that's very sad for that team, as they were really trying to get into the 500. I'm sure that would have been a really good story. And another trend that I noticed with Daytona 500 winners, it's either a career win that occurs early in their career or very late in their career. Very rarely is it a driver that's just in the middle of their career in terms of their wins. We've already discussed the drivers who got their first win here, but let's go over this list of drivers that also won early in their careers. 1972, A.J. Foyt won his 6th career NASCAR Cup race. Of course, he only would win 7, but I still think that was a pretty low number for a driver of his caliber. 1975, Benny Parsons was his 3rd career win as the Daytona 500. Bill Elliott won the 500 in 85. That was only his 5th career win. The following year, Jeff Bodine won. It was his 4th career win. 1991, Ernie Irvan won. It was his 2nd career win. A couple of them I put on here that were double digits, but I felt were noteworthy. Davey Allison won in 92. That was his 11th career win. Of course, he would only go on to win 19 races. But I felt that was kind of still very early in his career. Dale Jarrett, when he won in 93, that was his 2nd career win. Of course, we talked about Marlin in 94, but also in 95, Marlin won his 2nd career race. When Jarrett won his 2nd Daytona 500 in 96, that was only his 5th career win. I thought that was pretty interesting to learn. I knew that DJ didn't have a lot of wins at that point, but I didn't realize it was just his 5th. Excuse me. 2002, Ward Burton, when he won, that was only his 4th career win. Michael Waltrip, his 3rd career win was in 03. The second noteworthy win in 2004, when Dale Jr. won, that was his 10th career win. Of course, he did have pretty good seasons in 2001, 2, and 3. Junior would, of course, score a total of 26 in his career. 2010, J-Mac won. Jamie McMurray, I call him J-Mac sometimes. Jamie McMurray won in 2010. That was just his 4th career win. 2015, Joey Logano won. That was his 9th career win. And Austin Dillon in 2018, that was his 2nd career win. So Daytona 500s favor people that either win a lot or they're just starting to win. So I find that trend very interesting. Talked about the final ones. Now we're going to go ahead here and talk about the favorites, kind of the guys that I think that are going to be. And this kind of goes along with my DraftKings because I play that sometimes. So I got to get my teams lined up for tomorrow. I haven't done that yet, but I think some of your favorites for tomorrow obviously are going to be Denny Hamlin, a 3-time winner, Kevin Harvick, who's your 2007 champion of the race, Chase Elliott, who has never won the 500 but is the defending Cup champion, and Joey Logano, who won in 2015. I think those are probably the 4 strongest guys in the race tomorrow. Now these guys I consider underdogs. And I'll explain why. Matt DiBenedetto never won a race. Wood Brothers, they're looking for their 100th win. I think that would be a great, great race a great win to see happen. So Matt D, I believe, is an underdog, even though 2 years ago he did lead the most laps driving for the Bob Levine team. Tyler Reddick, I believe, is an underdog as well, driving for Richard Childress, even though RCR has a few wins at Daytona. I think that where they are now, as far as competitiveness versus the rest of the field, I see Reddick as a bit of an underdog. William Byron, I consider him an underdog, even though he's qualified second. We'll have to go to the back because he used a backup car, and he did win the last fall oval race at Daytona. Still consider him an underdog, as he is still very young, still getting his feet wet in the sport as far as the Cup Series. I think he's an underdog. And Eric Almirola, even though Eric has 2 wins on the speedways and did win the qualifying race on Thursday, I do just kind of see him as a bit of a dark horse contender. So these are kind of guys in that middle tier. And the guys that I consider long shots, excuse me, the long shot drivers, Ross Chastain. Of course, he's never won a Cup race. He's only got 1 top 10. That was a couple years ago. I believe it was 2018 when he finished 10th for it was Premium Motorsports at the time. I believe Premium's been bought out by Rick Ware Racing. But I believe Chastain's, with the 42 car, he will have the equipment, the speed, the backing, and all that sort of thing. So I think Ross will do really well all year, but as a Daytona 500, I think he is a long shot. Another one that you might consider for your teams for those low budget tiers, David Reagan finished 4th last year, 5th last year. Returns to Front Row Motorsports. He's always great on the plate tracks, so I think still call him plate tracks, but the super speedways, Daytona and Talladega, David Reagan. Michael McDowell is another one of those drivers that I see that has potential to be there. If everything lines up right, he could win. Of course, he has never won a Cup Series race, but he did have a 5th place finish a couple of years ago. Maybe it was 4th. I can't remember exactly where it's 4th or 5th, but he did have a strong run driving that Front Row Motorsports car. And the last of my long shots, Rookie of the Year contender Chase Briscoe, coming off a 9-win season last year in the Xfinity Series. I do see him being strong this year at times. Of course, he's going to make rookie mistakes. He's got a lot of learning, but I think at Daytona and Talladega, if you make the race, you have a shot. And I think Chase Briscoe, with that team, with the veteran leadership that they have, the resources that Stewart-Haas and Ford brings them, they are a long shot contender for the Daytona 500. If they don't finish top 15 tomorrow, I'm not going to say that would surprise me or disappoint me either way. That's just kind of where I see them right now, a 15th to 20th place car. But they could, hit the setup, hit the draft right, etc., and just go out and, really, really surprise everybody. Let me double check my notes here. I got 3 or 4 pages of notes that I just wanted to go over real quick. I'm having real fun doing these previews so that way we can all kind of look at the event for what it is. So there's a lot of history in the Daytona 500. A lot of history in the field with all the different past champions of the race, the past Cup Series champions, and a lot to look forward in the future. Of course, I'm just going over the list here real quick. Drivers that I see having big futures in the Cup Series over the next 5 to 10 years. Kaz Grala, Ostron Cindric, Anthony Alfredo, Ross Chastain, Eric Jones, Chase Briscoe. The list just goes on and on. Of course, I was reading from the bottom up there. As you get closer to the top, then that's where you get your Harvicks and your Chase Elliott and just all the guys that are going to run for the championship, Denny Hamlin, and so forth. And of course, there's one big noteworthy return. Kyle Larson returns for the first time after being suspended last year. Of course, we all know the story there. That'll be interesting to watch him. Of course, there's a couple new ownership groups going on. We've got the 99 team Trackhouse Racing. They have Pitbull is going to be involved in that team. And then, of course, Bubba Wallace's team with 2311 Racing with Denny Hamlin, of course, NBA Hall of Famer Michael Jordan. A lot coming together to make this a really, really great race. I have no clue who's going to win. I could put every one of these names in a hat and draw 3 or 4 of them out, and probably not going to be too far off. So anyway, who do you guys think's going to win tomorrow? You know, I told you my favorites, I told you my underdogs, I told you my long shots. That's all I got for today, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Another preview. This one, of course, for the Daytona 500, the Great American Race. I believe it is 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock on Fox. Really can't remember, but hope you guys will watch that. I'll be tuned to my TV as well. So thanks for watching this video. Give me your predictions for tomorrow's race, and we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching, guys.